Okay, here it is. Post-release, post-cry of this realization. It's time to let this sink in. I got myself into a lot of credit card debt in order to fund my dreams. Like buying this microphone. This was a cheap one. It's probably not actually close enough. This was a cheap one. But it's been so many things like this that I feel I need if I'm gonna live into my dreams. So I've spent so much time and energy feeling like a victim of the fact that I don't have enough money to support the type of creativity I yearn to play with. So like makeup, adornment, space, energy moving. So like creating a space that feels energetically delicious with the furniture, the way the furniture is arranged, the living things like plants, whatever, as an abode to house and hold my expansion and my creativity. I've been like funding all this shit on credit cards because work has been slow. Was slow. That is changing. But I got into debt during this period. And on the one hand, I felt that, okay, I have vision. The vision is calling. Let's just go for it. Let's buy what I need with these credit cards and just go for it. Go for the vision. Source is more powerful than rationality. Rationality is the real insanity. Because what the fuck is rational about anything that's happening? About being alive, about being this creature with two eyes and hair in strange places. Nothing makes sense. That's a different story for a different day. Point being, what does it even mean to be alive and why are we here? There's a mystery that's bigger than us. And magic can happen when we honor the mystery instead of trying to control it. So, what was I saying? So I was living into this big vision, honoring it, trusting that it was like I was investing in myself in the way that I would ask an investor to invest in my business or my big creative project that will have a return on the investment. That's how it felt. Yeah. That's how it felt. So, imagine my shock when I realized something that I've always known and that I knew deep down, but it wasn't clicking. Source doesn't need equipment, really. I mean, bare minimum. I didn't have to spend all this money and get all this equipment to live into my biggest creative potential. Because creativity is so much bigger than the containers that it can fit into. Give me an iPhone or just a phone with a camera and some sunlight. And with Source, that is play. And it brings in money because that's what happens when you express yourself in that way. And over time, you can build the play into more extravagant ways. But like, you don't need the setup for source to move through you and land in the way that the world needs. Yes, people prefer to watch videos that have like high contrast, high definition, beautiful backgrounds, good sound quality. But if you're channeling fucking truth, like if you're channeling source, that shit lands. It doesn't matter how it comes through. I don't need money to write a book. I don't need money to like have a life built on ritual. I don't need extravagant rituals. The sweetness of the ritual is in the ritual itself, in the devotion of the process, in the simplicity of a breath. My ego does not want to admit that. That's embarrassing that I forgot that I didn't just create, and that I spent all of this time and energy and money I didn't have buying shit for my future creative self to use. Oops. So much simpler than that. Just be creative. Just begin with what you have, where you're at. You have everything you need. How is it that I've said that line to myself so many times and it didn't quite register? I think I was just tired of denying myself, coming from a lineage of both, like, it's a combination of privilege and scarcity thinking. So I come from like a lineage of middle class comfort that never experienced the comfort of middle class because they were trapped in scarcity and fear that the money would run out, that there was never enough, that they shouldn't buy things that are nice for themselves because someone else needs that money more. How dare you buy yourself a nice pair of shoes when there are children starving on the streets of the city you live in? That's the logic I grew up with. And it internally combusted. I was so fucking tired of, I'm a Libra rising. I want to adorn myself. I want to play with makeup and luxurious fabrics and playing with how I present to the world. That's part of my art. I'm finally honoring it as my art, and my frustration of how many years I denied that shit. I remember in sophomore year of high school, I wore a t-shirt, like a sports t-shirt, type of vibe, every day with my hair in a back low bun, because it was the safest thing I could do. I would have rather looked meh than to look like I was trying too hard. Who the fuck does she think she is? That's what I was afraid of. And the frustration of decades of denying myself the type of creative expression that I desired, I just exploded. I combusted, and I just went on a spree, and I bought what I wanted, and I funded this dream, this vision of life as art. Ooh, just the way you create space, the way you move through space, the way you embody art, all of it. And somewhere along the way, I kind of got lost in the material side of that. Because it was like a whiplash, right? Or not a whiplash, a pendulum. You start off on one extreme, go to the other, until you find your way into the middle. So now I'm in the process of remembering that it was never about the material things. Creativity is powerful. It doesn't need shit. It can be creative now with whatever is available. Now, there's two things. One, immediately shame comes in. So you got into all of this debt for nothing? You stupid girl. No, not for nothing. And also, the spending of the money that I didn't have, the racking up of credit card debt, did not come from a place of stupidity or irresponsibility or anything to be ashamed of. It came from a yearning to be free and to create. That's beautiful. Beautiful. I was willing to risk a lot. I put my safety, my feeling of safety on the line in order to honor what I felt was the path to freedom and to creative power. So let's honor that. This is not something to be ashamed of. No. There's a lot of shame that I carry from my lineage around money and wealth and the lack of it. And so I have voices screaming in my head like, shame on you. But when I honor the real source of those decisions, yearning to be free, yearning to be her, the version of myself that I know I already am, and that is the freest, most creative, most powerful version of myself. I really believed that was part of the path. And I don't think it's so cut and dry that it wasn't. I'm using equipment now. My life is more beautiful, it feels, because of some of the purchases and investments I've made for the sake of my ritual, for the sake of my magic and my creativity. The purchases I've made have been with a lot of intention and have definitely amplified some deliciousness, okay? But that path doesn't end. It doesn't all of a sudden arrive at the permission to be creative. I have to give that to myself now. Not once I have the money, now. Forget the money. The money is numbers on a screen. It's simply energy. In my case, because I have enough to survive. And then some. So this is the next phase of my expansion. Oh, before we talk about next phase, we have to talk about the fact that being this far in debt has given me an alchemical potency that I wouldn't have had without it. And therefore, even if it wasn't necessary for what I thought it was necessary for, it created the conditions for my expansion to be amplified. I don't know if I said that how I wanted to, but let's talk through this. I'm up against the edge shame, fear. I'm in all this debt and I don't know how I'm going to pay it off. Payday is coming. Not payday. The date that I have to pay on my credit cards is coming. And I don't have the money. My credit score is going to drop. I'm going to gain in some interest. And it's a level of fear around money that I experienced it maybe in Paris when I was going to the red every month, even with help from my parents and even working my ass off at this fucking bar. It wasn't enough, and I was going to the red every month. So this is a sort of different situation, but something about credit cards feels even scarier, because at least in Paris I wasn't racking up money I didn't have. It was just a little like in the red, like I overdrew 25 euros or something, and then it would be fine, except for like the overdraft fee or whatever. But credit card, because it's so like exponential in its potential to amplify itself in its interest and all of that, and like to spiral out of control, it carries with it a level of fear that is new, and shame. Like, how could you be so stupid to get yourself in this much debt? For what? For your whims and your pleasures? Yes, actually. Anyways, so I'm at this edge of shame and fear, feeling like I have to get this situation under control before I'm allowed to be her, the highest version of myself. Having the audacity to be delusional enough to embody her before the financial evidence has arrived. That level of delusion is where greatness lies. No one becomes great without delusion. And it's not about greatness even. It's not about becoming someone who's great. It's about being so alive in this lifetime that you get the privilege of channeling a huge amount of creative output into the world. Like high voltage creative output. That's a privilege that I want to experience before I die. And to embody that level of receiving, you got to be grounded. Not grounded in the game that society has created. Grounded in a much deeper knowing. A knowing of truth. A knowing of what life feels like inside of you. Inside of your bones, inside of your soul. If I can embody her while I'm in a situation so charged with shame and fear and scarcity thinking, that is a sign to the universe that I am capable of honoring and holding creative life force. So this week, at the peak of this financial strain situation, I stepped into a new level of power. I decided that being able to embody her has nothing to do with what money says or what screens say or what it reflects on my bank account. I can be her right now. And I became, this week, the most magnetic version of myself I've ever been. And it showed. I had evidence for it. Without this amount of debt that I'm in, I never would have had to dig so deep. And therefore, like when it's easy to access your power, it doesn't amplify it. When you have to dig, you get to indulge in your own power when you dig that deep. So, anyways, being this much in debt was less about a personal investment that I needed in order to channel the creativity I hope to channel. And it was more about an opportunity to go bigger. It's like my soul said, it's like the universe offered my soul, you want to go big now when I had gotten myself out of debt last time? And my soul was like, no, I need one more big push. I want to go to the next level. The universe is like, okay, we're going for 7K in debt and credit card debt. You ready to level the fuck up? Oh, God. So I did. And something big has shifted. And it's been a few weeks now. But this past week was the big fireworks. So now I get to move into the next phase of this expansion, which is actually a bit softer and smaller than the previous phase. The previous phase is a bit dramatic. Lots of tears, lots of pain and grieving and fear and triumph and big quest vibes, like hero's adventure kind of stuff. This quest has a different vibe. It's asking me to get a bit softer and simpler. We're going to simplify. When I feel the energy of money in any capacity, whether scarcity, whether it's for this, whether it's good and it's coming and whatever labels I'm putting on it, I need to redirect my attention from money to 3 questions. How can I create right now? How can I embody her right now? How can I feel abundant right now? Because you always can. Obviously with the exceptions that are necessary to be made. But we're made of bliss. The frequency that makes up this universe is bliss, Ananda. All you need to do is breathe your way into it, and then you are the whole universe, and it's delicious, regardless of what a bank account might say. Then there's creating. How can I create in this moment right now? Just begin. Hear the tug. Listen for the vision. Listen for the next step. Begin right now with what you have. Make it work, because you can. How can I embody her the highest version of myself. How does she move? How does she carry herself? What does her energy feel like? How does she respond? In this moment right now, in any given moment, how does she move? What does it feel like to be so sure of your own power that money actually feels irrelevant, as long as you have enough to survive? What does it feel like to know that you're worthy no matter what money might say about you? That's how she moves. She knows my presence is magic. My presence is valuable. I am bountiful and beautiful simply for existing. She knows, she feels it in her bones. She could have $1 million and have someone scam all of that money, steal it, whatever, have her house burned down, all of the things, lose everything, and she would still know, I am made of love. I am love. I am abundant. Life is beautiful. So this next phase is a really subtle redirect, redirect, redirect. Thinking about money, redirect. If you can't redirect, sit with it until it softens itself. Simplify. I just spilled my drink. So, here I am, beginning. I'm recording this insight in real time. In subpar lighting conditions with my camera, my phone camera, looking like this, which as a Libra rising is not my favorite. Like, puffy eyes and bags and from crying. And like a long day's hair. It's so tempting to wait until the conditions are perfect. And even as I say this, I'm like, I'm not going to post this. No way. I'm going to wait. Let's wait a few months. So it's safe. Why would it be safer to post this in a few months? I don't know. That's clearly fear talking. I felt an insight come on. I am simply tracking my own journey in real time in the way that I love to do it best. Just chatting, hearing myself talk. And I'm recording it because I feel compelled to, because it feels like something worthy of sharing. Because I'm not the only one dealing with this. And the people who have put themselves out there in their vulnerability, in their working with what they have, whose messages have reached me and changed me. I feel whatever they felt. Someone needs to hear this, just like I needed to hear all of that. Someone needs to hear this. In its rawness, in its imperfection. can just, it's funny, the excuses of not putting this out there are infinite. This was an especially raw take, so like entirely unfiltered. Maybe it's not safe to put this much rawness out into the world. But like, we're not doing safe anymore. We're doing acting upon creative vision before the idea just dissipates. I don't know, it's scary. I don't know if I'll post this. Regardless of whether or not this ends up on the internet, I'm proud of myself for feeling the insight, learning from it, and then doing something about it. The lesson came through loud and clear. Stop waiting to create until you have money. Just start creating and money will come. You have what you need. You always have and you always will. Just create and enjoy it and play. The end. That's it. So here I am, I'm at least enjoying the process of creating. Whether or not it goes out into the world, I'm affirming this lesson. And I thank all of the guidance that led this lesson to me. Through my spirit team, my friends, my supporters, my sister, my guides, online, in books. And maybe like putting this shit out there is a way of honoring this lineage of guidance that I received from such an interesting matrix of overlapping sources of guidance and inspiration. That's God tier courage right there. That Vanessa, I don't remember her last name. Vanessa someone talks about God tier courage when we're in this liminal space to like move through it and move into our higher self takes God tier courage. When I posted that first ever poll video of me at Poll Karaoke back in December 2024, or something like that. No, it would have been January because I started in December. So I was like a month into poll and I did Poll Karaoke. And I got a video or a few clips of it. I knew I didn't like it. I didn't like the way it was filmed. It wasn't about the way it was filmed. It was the quality of my camera. I didn't like what I was wearing. I thought I looked so ugly. And my hair, I hated. Oh, God. But I posted it. Not because I liked it. There was an aspect of I was proud of it. Like, the amount of progress I made in 1 month was amazing. But I knew it wasn't not that. I knew what I was working into. But I posted it to honor the vision of what I was working into. And from that portal opened a whole new world that is Artemis Rose and whatever she is becoming. That was God tier courage to post that video on Instagram. So, and John Hillstead talks about speed. You don't think when it comes to creativity. You just do. You play and you do and you move and you take the risk. You let an idea sit and collect dust it flops because the energy dies. The energy comes in hot. You got to act on it. This is John Hillstead, everyone. This is his insight. So that's something I've just feared. I want it to be perfect before I put it out there. I want to be safe from this scary world, so full of projections of shame and judgment. But I feel like the version of me that I'm living into, she doesn't hesitate. She sits down, streams her insight, posts that shit, and moves on. Because she's doing a million other things. She doesn't have time to will I, won't I? What's the risk? No. We do. Some things flop, you move on. You try things, they don't work, try something. No, that's the flow. Put it all out there. Follow each hot idea. Let it move through you. Oh God, what have I done? I've convinced myself. I have to put it out there. Raw, real. The beginning of a shift in which I stop waiting to be the artist, the creative, the witch wielding her magic that I've always wanted to be. It starts with shit like this. Okay. I think that wraps that up. Hello. I am Maddie Rose, and this is a little bit more what I had in mind for the setup of my YouTube channel. Actually, I had a whole ass plan for my whole YouTube channel, which involved really documenting and deep diving into the wisdom and insights I've received from my guides and elders along this journey that I've been on for the past few years, this quest to feel more alive, more embodied, more free. So I was busy building the library of all of these insights I wanted to explore and how they all fit together. But then this lesson came through. Surrender now. Create now. Begin now. Stop preparing endlessly for your future creative self. Just begin creating. It will unfold. That's the lesson that came through. Basically, if you try to control the process too much, you block creativity. On the one hand, my endless preparing is a reflection of the fact that I love to do things really thoroughly, with a lot of intention, with magic. But at a certain point, endlessly preparing is simply an elaborate mechanism for postponing the hard thing. I mean, I've wanted to create a YouTube channel for years. I even recorded a video and uploaded it 3 years ago. But I didn't know why. I didn't know why I felt the need to share my thoughts with the world. I didn't know who would want to hear it. But it turns out it doesn't matter. Apparently, I just have to share this. So here I am, beginning. But I still want to honor the vision, the original vision of this YouTube channel, of documenting this quest for aliveness, for freedom, to reclaim my own power. And the episode that I recorded somewhat on a whim a few days ago actually serves as a really good launching point for this. On the one hand, it contains many threads that I want to explore, and it contains a message of how to approach this, which is to simply open to the fact that all of the insights that I've received have converged now into this moment embodied by me, and I have a unique perspective to share on the overlap and interconnectedness of all of these messages. So, for example, the message of just begin, just start right now, have the audacity to just go for it. That message was activated by John Hillstead's work a few days ago, but that wasn't in a vacuum. It was building upon months of wrestling with the work of Julia Cameron from The Artist's Way, the work of Clarissa, Dr. Clarissa Pinkola Estés from Women Who Run with the Wolves. These are back here. Julia Cameron specifically says, just begin. And Clarissa has a story in Women Who Run with the Wolves called La Llorona, which is a famous story that I had heard before, but not in the way that Clarissa shares it. See, what Clarissa does in Women Who Run with the Wolves is she works with stories as medicine, stories as roadmaps. And specifically in La Llorona, it's a roadmap for how to nourish and activate, really, your creative life as the river that it is flowing through you. And the way that Clarissa works with these stories is to harness the power of archetype. Archetypes being these universal patterns of energy that are that we can document and observe over time, and how personifying these patterns of energy can help us make meaning out of our lives, which is what we're here to do. There's no inherent meaning. It's up to us to create the meaning that we want to for our lives, to write our own story. So in this book, we're given so many stories to work with, specifically revolving around the archetype of wild woman. And they have already enriched my life so much, clearly. And I want to dive even deeper into the nuances of them so that I can really live into these stories and have them live into me. Vanessa Aldrich, I'm so sorry, Vanessa, that I forgot your name in the original episode I recorded, but here I will amplify you. Vanessa Aldrich also talks about myths and archetypes as powerful tools for transformation, for living into the artist that we know we can be, that we yearn to be. She specifically works with the archetype of the villain as a way to reclaim your own power from being small, to stop being small. And yet, no matter how much we reclaim our own agency in writing our own story, Bayo Komolafe reminds us to have reverence for the mystery and to remember that we have no idea what's going on and that there are things that simply refuse to be made sense of. He has taught me that sometimes a question is more powerful than an answer, and to look in the cracks of your understanding, in the cracks of our stories, in the cracks that lead to the margins, to the wilderness beyond our fences, into the darkness especially, and to honor these cracks instead of trying to explain them away. And so there's a dance between meaning making and surrendering to the mystery that I can't wait to explore more throughout the coming months, the coming episodes. And there are so many more threads to explore, so many more elders to honor. Ram Dass, Dr. Sue Morter, Trisha Hersey, who taught me about rest being a form of resistance. especially in this hyper-efficient capitalist colonialist world that we live in. And yet, that doesn't necessarily contradict with the lesson that came through my episode of you just gotta go. When you hear the insight, you move, you act. It doesn't contradict. It has to do with distinction between devotion and discipline, which is an insight I've received from Dr. Sue Morter that is worth exploring in a whole ass episode of its own. So, yes, these are just a few of the many threads I am excited to explore, and I'm excited to finally have a container to explore them in, and a place to amplify all of these voices, all of these insights, and to amplify and honor the convergence of all of it in my vessel. So here I am documenting this quest, this journey into aliveness, embodiment, freedom, the journey to reclaiming my own power, not power over anything or anyone else, just my personal power, my agency, my sovereignty, my ability to say, I bow to no crown but my own. If you know, you know. So yeah, here is the beginning of this new chapter. So here I am. Here we are. Welcome. I am excited to go on this journey with you.